Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of Ladies Who Bronche. I am Julissa.
What's up, everybody? This is Skittles.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy DJ SJ614.
With the longest name intro, as always.
Ya tu sabes, mami, ya tu sabes.
So,
We are the Ladies Who Bronche.
Yes, welcome. So this week, a lot has gone on, so we have a lot to cover for sure.
Indeed.
But I want to have our guest say a little bit more about himself. Who the fuck are you, Derick?
I's B, the boy from the block. As I said before, it's your boy DJ SJ614 from the New York Dose podcast. I am an actor, primarily content creator, poet, playwright, director. I does a lot of the creative shit. So that's me.
Absolutely. And similar to our guest last week, I've known Derick since we were in high school, also from the MCC Theater Company.
And I have the weirdest connection to Derick because you met Derick in high school outside of the MCC theater world, and then he went to high school with my other best friend, Melanie Gonzalez.
MGA.
At Talent Unlimited.
Yes.
So we was bound to be friends.
It was destiny.
I really do feel like a lot of our artist friends who we're connected to, it's like ordained. It's preordained.
Yeah.
We're supposed to know each other. We're supposed to work with each other.
Yeah.
And, so New York Dose is Derick's podcast, but he had a very successful podcast before his rebranding, which was the Bodega podcast, which was also really awesome. And gained a lot of tractions and was climbing up. So Derick really is a little bit of a podcast master.
Yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, yo, it's going almost on 2 years for me because that started in December of 2015. So almost December again.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I even did this thing, it was like I knew podcast was a thing, and I knew that, NPR had good ones and all these fancy schmancy, educational ones and ones that are not so educational, but for me, radio, and not only did I do it in college, but as a Latina, having a radio voice and having radio personalities is so just a part of it. La Mega is part of my life. You know what I mean? It was a part of the culture of my upbringing and having those voices, making those inappropriate jokes. And it was really an outlet. And I find that, now in 2017, there's a very specific niche market, which is us first generations who, identify a lot with American culture because we were born here. But at the same time, there's some of that Latin flavor that American markets don't know how to throw to us because they don't know it. They don't understand it, and it's not their standard Latin things we cover. So for me, I was like, fuck this. Bodega podcast was already out, and I was like, yeah, that's dope. But even then, I was like, I want to go further. I want it to be my voice, and I want it to be Skittles, with my voice and whoever else we decide to bring on. Anyway,
let's jump right in. So what is your favorite brunch plate, Derick?
My favorite brunch plate. That's the mimosas. My favorite brunch plate is maybe, I want to say, I'm really basic when it comes to food, nothing crazy. So I would say a 2-2-2, 2 eggs, 2 pancakes, 2 turkey, bacon.
Okay.
Now, are you into any specialty pancakes? I know the fall season's coming up. You give me a pumpkin pancake, I'll love you forever.
Okay, you see that? No, I like my pancakes how I like my pizza, plain. I'm very basic when it comes to food.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with
That's disappointing.
It's so
I'm
weird.
disappointed in your answer.
I feel like I'm so extravagant on other aspects of my life. I had to take the basic button someplace, and it just fell in food. Yeah.
You don't even know what you're missing.
All right. Well, then maybe we'll get a little bit more exciting and ask. Let's see what your favorite brunch.
Trying to call me boring.
Get off. I should have picked another desk.
Transition. Let's get a little more exciting.
What is your favorite brunch booze?
My favorite brunch booze is definitely mimosa. My favorite.
So basic.
So basic. That is literally what I said. I was like, well.
Now you got it, guys. DJ SJ614.
It's a basic bitch.
No, I like, it's so funny because I like any booze with orange juice infused. So my favorite cocktail is Screwdriver. My favorite, brunch drink is mimosa. It's very basic. Yeah, it's very basic on my plate.
Wow. I would not want to marry you. What's for dinner?
Popeyes. If you're nasty.
All right. So what was going out to eat like when you were a kid growing up?
Going out to eat was okay, the fondest memory I can think of about eating out was when I used to be an acolyte at my church. I go to an Episcopalian church, so it's kind of this like fusion of Catholicism and Christianity. It's a lot of the actual ceremonies and practices that the Christian like scriptures have. So like, we have the actual like cross bearer, and we do the stuff with the smoke, and we do communion every Sunday and this, that, and the third. So I was an acolyte. My grandmother is an acolyte and those things like that. And like our whole family kind of like goes to church. Like my Nana, who's like 90 something. Like, it's just like a very
Nana.
Yeah, it's a very just like family oriented thing. And every Sunday after church, we would go to the Lindenwood Diner. And we had our favorite like waiter there, and we would eat, and that was like an every Sunday thing. And I would always get my chocolate con leche, and my basic ass breakfast meal or whatever, and it would be lit. Other than that, I remember sometimes going to Red Lobster with my mom a lot. Well, not just her, like my mom and my aunts. We would go to Red Lobster a lot, and yeah, I think it was just like Red Lobster and like the diner a lot as a child.
Yo, I didn't go to Red Lobster until I was like in college, I think. Or no, maybe like senior in high school with my brother, but like Red Lobster was not something my family did. That was almost too fancy.
I lived walking distance from a Red Lobster, and I never went to Red Lobster.
That Red Lobster that's still there by your house?
Yes, Big Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live walking distance from that
That's
all
crazy.
my life, and I've never been to Red Lobster.
See, like we're
college.
talking about it, and I want some now.
Cut to, we definitely had endless shrimp after last week.
We definitely did. Jesus, and like unapologetically too.
Endless shrimp for the world.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. So eating out, like you have these like. A lot of these chain restaurants that were like sacred when we were younger are now like going under because they say we don't go there anymore.
Right.
And I get it. Like there's just better food, but also there are just days where you crave those very specific foods. Yeah, I don't know what it is. What is, Derick, your favorite bochinche topic to talk about over a meal?
Honestly, me. And I really realized this the other day. It was my friend's birthday, and she had her like birthday brunch, and I definitely strolled in like 40 minutes late. Mind you, it's like hot outside right now, so I strolled in 40 minutes late with my leopard fur coat on and my crown from my birthday, and I just like made an entrance, and everybody was like, "No, this motherfucker did." And then the next 15 minutes was all about me, as I usually like it. But if it's not going to be about me, then I love also just like spilling tea over brunch. I feel like there's something very classy about spilling tea with the mimosa in your hand and like an egg on your plate, like something very just like classy and bitchy about it that I love.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. So it's time to do our here's to the ladies who cheer. And Skittles, why don't you go ahead and give our first cheers?
Yes, because I'm very excited about this first cheers. I want to cheers to my girl, Azealia Banks. She's coming out with her new movie, Love Beats Rhythm, Love Beats Rhymes.
Okay.
And it's starring her with Jill Scott, Common, and a bunch of other huge, like, black names. And I'm just excited for people to see her in another light because I want people to, like, love her again.
Yeah.
The commercial came out online. Entertainment Tonight released it, and
Ooh,
I don't know. It
send me
looks
that
really
link.
good. It looks like, to me, it looks like Love and Hip Hop meets Save the Last Dance.
Mm.
No, not Love and Hip Hop. Whoa.
I was gonna say
Scratch that.
Ratchet. Yeah,
Scratch that.
PG. Like
It's Love and Basketball meets Save the Last Dance.
Oh,
at least
okay.
according to the commercial. That's what I've taken from it. And I'm really excited about that because I love those movies.
Send me that link. I love her.
You know, and here's the truth. As a person who was actually down in that basement with her, watching her act and whatever. No, but honestly, like, you can say a lot of shit about Azealia if you want, but, like, the bitch can act her ass off. So I'm really excited to see if we get to see that. Or if, you know, me and Juan have differences in our movie taste. If it is a Save the Last Dance, like, if it is
what I say it is, she's going to hate it.
I'm probably going to hate it. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be proud of her and bigging her up and, like, think she did a good job. I just think that there's such a specific style that those movies are that it doesn't matter how good she does. Like, it's almost like she can't win because the lines will probably be really corny. So, you know what I mean? So it's so hard. And then Common gets those roles all the time too, and he's so sexy. I'm like, yo, they're underutilizing. And even for Jill Scott, I just hope they're not underutilizing their acting skills just for the sake of some, like,
what else does she
feel good
in
movie.
The commercial, what we get from the commercial, she's a student in college. She's going to poetry class.
I love this.
And she's also a rapper.
I love it.
She's also a rapper. Jill Scott is her professor. Okay. And she comes in thinking she's badass. She raps in class. And then Jill Scott is like, that shit was whack. Find something that you're scared of. Find something that you're deeper. Find this, find that. So Jill Scott plays this, like, professor, you know?
Yeah, the prophetic professor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited.
Listen, I'm here for my girl, so I'm excited too.
What else does she have to do with it? Is she just acting on it? Or did she also, like, write some of it? Or
I think she's only acting.
Okay.
I would have to look it up. I don't know if she's done anything else, but she does write her own shit. Like, that is something that she does do. It could be that she didn't for the movie because if the writer had a specific, like, type of rapper style for the character, then, you know, she'll have to follow that. But she does, you know, and a lot of people say, like, oh, I can't understand what she's saying. And I'm like, I get it. Like, at a first listen, sometimes you might miss a lot of the lyrics, but, like, if you really, like, vibe and listen to the song a couple of times, you'll get into it, and you can get what she's saying. And that shit is just, like, you just have to be as fast as the energy that she's throwing out.
You have to be present. You have
to be present with the song. And she does say some fun shit. So
she really does.
You know, I feel like Azealia is going to be an ongoing topic here.
I love her. I'm such a fan. Like,
and you know, I do too, and a lot of people, you know, always, like, try to frame that around the fact that we went to school together, and that's actually just not true. Like, there are things that, you know, I'm willing to accept as problematic about things that she says, but, you know, I think when you understand someone's context a little bit past what the media allows you to see, that you're more, I'll use the word forgiving, but you're a little more understanding of how you're going to be critical. Like, I understand that she's wrong a lot of times, but the way that people just want to lash out and be like, oh, she's just a complete hater and she's just untalented and she needs to ride other people's talent. Like, to me, it's like, okay, maybe she is hating in this moment, but she has the talent. It's not that she needs to ride, like, moments like that.
People say that have never been to one of her concerts.
I'm like, you haven't actually seen her in action. Like, she has the talent. Like, we can talk about her mouth being controlled so that people can see past her mouth. But the bitch got where she got because of who she is and her talent. You cannot take that away from her.
We were just talking on the New York Dose about, like, separating, like, the artist from, like, their personal life, and of course, like, she came up as one of the examples. It was like her, like Bill Cosby, and some other niggas.
You said you don't buy that crazy mental health stuff. I heard that episode. I heard the episode.
Actually, she came up again. The one that we, like, just recorded. Yeah, that's, like, not out yet. And I basically was saying that, like, I can absolutely 100% separate, like, her crazy mouth, you know, like, from her art, because at the end of the day, she is a fucking, like, genius. You know what I mean? Like, her art speaks for itself, you know? So. And
someone who was on Wildin' Out, we're in this group chat together, and someone posted some shit about somebody talking shit about Azealia. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I didn't see it yet.
So Dre posted it in the group chat, right? Shout out to Draquan.
Stirring the pot.
Right. Stirring the pot in the group chat as per, because that was definitely a sub towards me.
Of course.
So
I feel like we always know when it's a sub towards you.
It's because it's always a sub towards me. It's never a sub to anybody else.
I was about to say, I low-key always appreciate the subs. Like, I'm just here for it. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, so somebody, Jessica Robin Moore, was talking shit about Azealia and then like posted because Azalea's concert was on Groupon for some town that she was in for $16. And she also like posted a picture. Azealia recently, I guess, did a photo shoot and her tits were like out, but she started making fun of her tits and saying, yo, who suck your titties together? Like making like a joke about the lack of space between her two breasts.
You just can't fucking win these days.
Yeah, she was like, bitch, where exactly is the middle of your chest? Yeah, who did this to you? How your titties connected?
Not who did this to you. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking done.
You know, and like, so she and she called them like tumor titties, like just really disrespectful. And to me, like, you know, a lot of people I bet you are going to write on this and be like, oh, well, good for her because like that's how she talks about other people.
Right.
Yeah, Azealia does cut ass. But if Azealia really goes in on this girl, there's going to be a problem.
Exactly. Then people are going to be upset about it. Then they're going to be mad about it.
Because they're just rooting for her to get made fun of anyway, so they're not going to care. But let me tell you something. I just wanted to say it, you know, on the air. Not that I got the most followers in the world, but I just want you guys to know that Azealia is unfazed by her tits. She used to make a joke. Yes. She used to make a joke in the locker room. Her and another female in the drama department had titties like that, and she would call them unitit. Like, she would call them unitit. You know what I mean? So she's aware of her body. So to me, like, when females are coming at each other in the media, the way we body shame each other and then turn around and try to be examples for other women is kind of like, you know, like, that's equally as petty. And if we're not going to act that this, you know, chick is not just as petty, like, there's two petty people going back and forth.
Right.
But that's petty. And that's fucked up. Because then there's other young girls out there with unitits who are feeling some type of way right now. And you're body shaming them. So, like, fuck you.
Let me tell you, uni titties, y'all are loved, all right? Yeah. Y'all are loved.
Absolutely. All right, moving along. Eminem's BET freestyle. So I want to drink to that, not because it was like the best freestyle ever, because it wasn't, but freestyling is freestyle. Like, I can't freestyle for shit. So this is not hating to Eminem, but shout out to him for once again proving that, like, sometimes white people only want to listen to white people, because everyone now is losing their goddamn mind. Like, oh, wow, hip hop is such a political vessel. Wow, Eminem so craftfully called out the president. NWA, fuck the police. Like, and even further, like, you know, fight the power. Like, hip hop has always been a voice of the revolution. So, like, I do not understand, nor do I appreciate this idea that Eminem, you know what I mean, somehow, like, said something that was mind-boggling.
Right.
You know, I do appreciate him saying it, though, because I think I hope that he understands that, like, white people only like listening to each other. Mm-hmm. So it's great that he did that, and now some white people listen to him a little more and are like, yeah, you know, like, fuck Trump. But whatever, we've only been saying fuck Trump since before the nigga got fucking nominated. Before he was even a Republican nominee, like, you know, whatever. But shout out to him for saying it, and, like, whoever was somehow woke from this rap, strap in, like, stay for the ride, do not disappear with him. He's still going to be making some whack Amy tracks
said last week. It's going to be a long...
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then also I wanted to say shout out to everybody calling out Harvey Weinstein, because this guy is like, he's just another example of the typical, you have someone in power who understands their power and takes advantage of it, and you know basically molests people with his power. So I think it's great that folks have been stepping up. And one person who stepped up, and not about Harvey specifically, but about just having to deal with that in the industry, was Terry Crews, who is most beloved for being in White Chicks as the black guy who dates the white girl, for those people who need that clarification. Terry Crews talks about how one time he was at a party and this guy groped him. And, you know, like, in that moment, like, he had to stop himself from spazzing out, because he knew that the way that story would be spun was, like, you know, angry black man pretty much wilding out on, like, a Hollywood producer who groped him, and it was like a you're a black guy, you have a big dick type of joke, which is completely inappropriate. You know what I mean? But him stepping up and saying, like, yeah, it even happens to Terry. Like, people even have the balls to Terry Crews, who looks like he will snap someone right in half, to touch them inappropriately. And I think that we don't talk a lot often about the over-sexualization of black men in the industry, which is why, like, no, Absolutely, right? So it's something that is so sort of ingrained in our culture that like we don't even catch it. Like immediately you think black guy and you start mouth watering over the idea of a big dick. Like it is the first thing that goes to your mind. And if you say it's not one of the first things that goes to your mind, you're lying.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And guilty. Like I think about.
I apologize to every black man I have ever.
Right.
Like,
no. And it's hard and I struggle with it sometimes. Actually, at some point recently, I had a moment where I was going to be intimate with someone, and I was like struggling with the pants, and he wasn't helping me, and I was just like, "Is this you making me having to ask to like consent to this? Like, is this consent?" And he was like, I don't know, maybe you do need consent. And I'm like, wow, that's that's a weird moment. Like if I'm trying to be like sexy and like, I'm trying to suck his dick. Yeah, and then suddenly, like, I can't pull his pants down, but, like, he's not helping me. Is him not helping me also, like, saying no? Because if I was a woman and a guy's trying to, like if I'm in a movie theater or something and I'm not helping you, you know what I mean? But I'm not making a scene about you touching me. That probably means I don't want you to touch me. If I don't adjust myself to make this easier for both of us. So it was so interesting to think about consent as a woman. And it's that double standard shit. I have to take ownership of that. As women, we think that we can throw ourselves on men because 9 times out of 10, they probably want it. Right. But what about the moments that they don't and we get pushy? And I feel so bad about that. I'm like, am I a molester? And I say that as a joke, but actually also not as a joke. Like I never think to ask consent of men. Like I just think like, oh yeah, they want
you want this pussy, nigga.
You want this pussy, right? Like I don't like go around sitting on faces without consent.
Imagine.
But I do think about it.
Right.
But I do think about it. Anyway, I think we need to continue calling out guys like Harvey Weinstein. I think that
this is the guy that I feel like I remember hearing an account about him with this like woman who was like he like had employed her for something and they were like in the hotel room together and then he was like trying to get her to like take a shower with him and is that this guy?
I mean, there's so many stories now and it's possible that that's his story. I also heard a story of I forgot which actress it was. She was 17 and he was like he came out in pajamas and like offered her alcohol once and she was like, no, I have school tomorrow, and then like turned him down. Then like years later he kept like coming on to her over the years. And she continuously had to say no. And it became a joke like, oh, she always denies me. It was like a running joke about him, which was just completely inappropriate. It's just unfortunate. And then I think a big conversation that came up around this that was also important was the idea that men, when they want to speak in solidarity to these issues, go, we all have sisters and moms and, daughters who this could be them. And it's like, you should stand up for that. Even if your mama's dead, you ain't got no sisters and you ain't getting nobody pregnant. Like, this is just like people shouldn't touch each other, which is, why I also have to be critical of myself. Like when I'm saying, like, am I asking consent? Like these things are actually all tied together. It should not matter who you know. Or like, oh, I knew it was a problem, but I didn't speak up. Or, and then trying to, I don't know, like people need to be careful. Matt Damon was talking about it in all types of whack ways. I don't want to waste any more energy on it, but like just knowing that I hope that the Harvey Weinsteins in any industry, like I hope that their day is coming. We have a president who sort of embodies this negative behavior and like people are allowed. Like I can't wait until this motherfucker is not president anymore and then people who were silenced will speak out because I'm sure he's up there, fucking grabbing pussy in the White House somewhere, Anyway. And another shout out I wanted to give out, speaking of the literal devil, is to Trump because he met the president of the Virgin Islands. And, I just think that, how cool. Congratulations. Because maybe a mirror every morning isn't enough. And I think that maybe going to the Virgin Islands, he was able to sort of have an outer body experience and really, truly meet himself for the first time.
It's so funny. My cousin, she basically sent me like her Google search of like when Trump's like birthday was. And she sent it to me because he and I have the same birthday. So she was. Wait,
you and Trump have the same exact birth date or like the same sign?
No, he was born on June 14th.
No.
Oh my God.
I discovered this while live.
Himself,
I discovered this live while
this
doing.
Makes so much sense.
Exactly.
That's terrible, Derek.
This is why I have not been really bothered this whole time, because I understand. I don't agree with any fucking thing that he's doing, but I understand it as a fellow Gemini, especially this shit with him going to the Virgin Islands and meeting himself. This is some typical Gemini shit. I have to say, this is some typical Gemini shit. I meet with myself at least once a month. I get it. I fucking get it. But it's insane. She sent that to me, and I was like, yeah, I know. I literally discovered it live on the bodega, because I was looking up some other shit about Trump, and I was like, holy shit, guys, we have the same birthday. And ever since then,
worst.
Let
me say something about Derek's ass. He is one of the most conniving, heartless people that I know, in the most loving way possible. You know what I mean? He's on the right side of the cause, at least. He's not on Trump's side.
I'm using my powers for good.
Scary. But it's fucking scary.
It's a very honestly, every other Gemini I've met besides myself is out of their fucking mind. I can turn that switch on, but I just choose not to.
Yeah,
so.
just like Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love you, but you're definitely a Gemini.
Yeah.
And you are crazy, which brings us
to our next segment. Está loca, eh?
All right, where we call out motherfuckers who are doing the most.
The most.
This is all you, because you told me about this. So this one's all you.
Just I'm going to preface this by saying, I grew up watching women who who are ride or die women for their men and get tattoos, of anniversaries, of names and things like that. God. This Big Sean tattoo.
On Janae Aiko.
Yeah.
On Janae Aiko was just too much. I was like, first of all, I felt my inner mother came out.
She's too talented for that.
So, I was gonna say all my Hispanic woman isms came out in literally the minute I saw it, and I was like, "Ella está loca." It's literally how I even named the segment, because I literally was like, I was like, "Ella está loca." His whole fucking face detailed on her body.
It looks like a picture.
Yeah. Se dañó el cuerpo. Se dañó el cuerpo.
Oh my God.
She messed up her body is what my immediate reaction is. And then I realized how judgmental I was being, blah, 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 for all those people who whip everyone for being PC. I get it.
Because there are other people that say, if you get a tattoo, it should be of what you want. It doesn't matter.
Right. And I get it. But I'm going to be judgmental right now. I'm going to openly be judgmental right now. And that shit was just too much, because it was big, and I just don't. I have trouble believing in Hollywood love
relationship.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, what? So what was the reason
My
behind
question
that?
is hey, yo, Sean, boy, how big is you?
I hate you.
But I've had big dick, but I've had dick that is memorable, that I still think of. You know what I mean? I've had fantastic dick, but the thought of tattooing that gentleman's face on my body is not the immediate thing. And I've seen it where it's people's kids, and I'm like, I guess that makes more sense to me. If I'm going to do a face of my child, no matter what I do in my life, I'm that person's parent, and so that's always going to be a part of me. So I get that, but niggas come and go. Niggas ain't shit. I couldn't get a tattoo of that, on my body. And I even struggle with dates and names and things like that, because you know how many, for every time I've seen someone get the name of a person on a tattoo, every single person that I was there for before the tattoo appeared has since had to get a different tattoo to cover what they got.
It's nuts.
So I just think it's
tattoos are just a little bit of a commitment that I don't think
too much.
I can't do tattoos on myself. I would be over it in a week.
Yeah.
So I understand.
So I want to talk about how Cardi B is just a little too pretty for the guy from Migos that she's dating. I don't know what his name is.
This is another Tuta Loca?
Shady.
Yeah, another Tuta Loca. I'm being shady. I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
I don't know what he looks
this
like.
came from basically came from she's dating the one that goes do it look like I'm bougie?
That
video.
That's no. But which one in that? Isn't it more than that's more than one person?
I don't know who that is.
I
want to say
Migos is the name of the
Quavo,
group.
but I don't know if Quavo is a member of Migos.
Right. But go on.
Anyway, I'm getting this from, I saw a video of Cardi B leaving the Hip Hop Awards, and he brought her flowers. And so he brought her a bouquet of flowers, and her reaction was, "Oh, you want to get that neck?" And I was like, you know what, bitch? Go ahead and proclaim that you're going to suck his dick tonight. Yes. But then it like panned over to him, and I was like, oh, girl. Like, there are cuter members of Migos that you could be like giving that neck to.
He kind of looks like someone's ex-girlfriend that I know.
Oh my God. Offset is his name. Offset.
Yeah, Offset. Woo.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah. Well, honestly, let me tell you something. I'm gonna look at him real quick. I'm actively looking at him on Instagram.
But I will say this, say this shadiness aside, okay? I think that he's not cute enough for her. However, I think her dating a member of Migos is going to secure her in the hip-hop industry, because Migos came out with Bad and Bougie, which was a #1 song for like months.
Yeah.
And they've been on mad other artist songs, and they come out with hits. They're hit makers.
They are.
So I think that they're going to promise her a hit.
He's not that ugly.
He's like not that cute though.
How did this arrangement happen? Was it like she was rising up and then they got together, or was it while she was still a stripper?
I don't even know that deeply into it. Okay. I don't even know how deeply into it. I don't think they've been dating.
He just likes Cardi, doesn't care about Migos, loves Cardi, and saw what was happening, and then decided to look up just so he understood who this ugly motherfucker was next to her, so he could talk about it.
I have enough information about this artist.
This is me sexualizing a black man.
Yes.
Damn, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh my God.
Another tuta loca is to the people who are like sending death threats to a hockey team who decided to raise their fists during the anthem. We even had the soccer team from Germany also took a knee. Like, the world is watching. Like, other sports teams are catching on to the Colin Kaepernick sort of, fire. I heard that, just to sort of revisit Colin Kaepernick this week very, very quickly, like, I heard that the NFL is trying to really like make it a rule that if people decide to kneel during the anthem, like, some serious shit, like, they can lose their jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yes, like you said, everybody is watching, everybody like knows, and I think a lot of other like leagues want to do it, but I think the rules in some other leagues are way more stricter than they are in the NFL, because I think it's basketball. I think it's like in basketball where like if they try some shit like that, like they're like done. You know what I mean? Like, I think the rules are a little bit more like wired. And I think that the NFL are trying to adapt those NBA rules so that it can be like as like strict and wired as it is. So yeah, I feel you.
It's just, we were saying last week how, the sports world wants to like function outside of politics, but the way they function is super political.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker still don't have a job. Like, there's a lot going on that, I had, like, even before coming down here today, like, the game was on in my house and it was on, but I was having kind of feelings about it, and I'm like, I think I'm hitting the point where, I think protest is sort of necessary.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl is like the most watched televised event in the U.S. every year, and I feel like I want to see that not happen this year. I want to see the numbers dip in a very significant way. It's just fucked up. It is just literal, no matter how much you try to spin it and say that sports are their own world and like, whatever. It's almost like with artists where you're like, oh, the art is separate from the artist. And the truth of the matter is that even back during slavery, the way in which they would breed African men in order to have them sort of like fight each other for sport, there has been sort of a setup in the sports world where they benefit from certain communities, and they're very much aware during their drafts who they're picking and what the advantages are in picking certain types of people over others. Even in baseball, like with hiring certain like Dominican players and going out and scouting, like in DR, that whole scouting shit is not as luxurious as it seems. No. And it's a problem, but we don't want to talk about that problem because we love these teams. Like, sports is such a cult, no matter which sport you're watching, that you're rooting for you to have the best player. You're rooting for all of these things to happen. So you're less, gung-ho about jumping up and talking about it being some sort of injustice. But it's an injustice.
Yeah.
we can't, Cardi B, I was telling Juan how I was watching Cardi B's rant on Colin Kaepernick, and like, she was like, oh, we can't come for the players, we gotta come for these owners. And that's partially true. Like, this is their job. And yes, I do want them to sit out. Yes, I do want them to take these radical moves, but they will all get fired one by one before something happens. How do we get to the owners without having to have the players do something too crazy? Like, definitely take a knee. Like, when people are still shy about taking a knee and that rule's still not in order, I'm like, just take the fucking knee. Like, take the stance. Right. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see sports, theater, movie industry. Oh, because Weinstein, by the way, he is no longer part of the Academy. They booted him off the Academy for the Oscars. You know what I mean? So, like, that's a big step. How do we get shit like that accomplished in the sports world?
Yeah.
I know Lin-Manuel and Kiara, I forgot what her name is, are moving to get the In the Heights movie removed from his, like, released from him.
Right.
And stuff like that. So now people are, like, moving to get, like, projects taken away from.
Because there's always more of us, quote unquote, versus the thems who are really like fucking shit up. There's always more of us. It's just who's willing to sacrifice something. So I think in sports it's just very interesting. Like, I'm so gung ho about the Super Bowl, even though I don't watch most of the season. You know, like, I'm so gung ho about it. And this year I'm just kind of not feeling it. And I'm kind of okay with not watching the Super Bowl and participating in that, because it does sort of feed the pockets of the owners. And I love a team that's like the worst team to love when it comes politically. I love the Patriots. Like, Tom Brady and the owner, like, that's the worst fucking, like, as a woke person. Right. Like, not, you know what I mean? Anyway.
And hopefully the performers who do end up booking the Super Bowl get more and more political
in their actual performance.
Yeah, in their actual performances.
I just think it's interesting, like, how far we've come from, like, the initial reason, like, why Colin is, like, doing this. And I also just think it's interesting, like, how ignorant a lot of people are to why he's doing this, you know, because a lot of like, these people in the league and shit like that, like, they're really trying to be like, you know, that he's, like, boycotting, like, the national anthem and shit like that, when, as we all know, like, that's not the case at all. You know, there's something that he's fighting for, and he's using that as a vehicle. You know what I mean? So it's not technically protesting the national anthem. It's like, I know that this is a big thing. I'm going to use this as a vehicle to bring awareness to what I'm actually protesting. You know what I mean? So I just think that, like, and that's not, like, fucking rocket science. So I just think it's really, really surprising that such a simple means of protesting has, like, really spiraled, like, out of control and has taken all these crazy twists and turns. And I think that just goes to show how much, you know, just, like, I don't know, like, even, like, on a governmental level, like, how much the power up there just tries to kind of, like, distract us from, like, certain things, you know, like, because that was something that was so simple that really...
Yeah, it was like, it happened in, one game?
No, and actually, like, so the history's a little longer than that. First, he sat out an anthem once, and then, like, he got all these letters, and then he met with a vet who was like, you know what, I understand why you're doing it. How about taking a knee? Yeah. That's maybe more respectful to people like me who are on the front lines fighting for this flag. Yep. You know, and I think it's so interesting, even as Americans, how much we downplay the value of the symbol of the flag. Because, like, sure, like, for some of us, it's like, it's a fucking cloth, like, it's just whatever, and that's true, and I'm sort of that opinion. But I also understand how outside in other countries and other cultures, those symbols carry a lot of fucking weight. You know, and the idea of flags and identifying yourself, even when you're a company, like, your brand, the way you brand yourself is very important to you, and to see that sort of disrespected is a big deal. So I get it for a soldier who feels some type of way. I'm like, I'm fighting, because anytime somebody sees this fucking flag, there's a feeling that they have towards it, and there's a way in which they're ready to act, whether it's good or bad, but I have to defend it during the bad times, because that's what they see, and that just says everything. They don't care about the details. It's that flag. So I get that. Anyway, but I just need him to get employed, man. Like, if this man does not get picked up, like, I want people to like, not watch football anymore. But you know, and I know that's a big thing to say, and I know it's unrealistic. No, like, that's the type, because that's a very clear statement about what that organization thinks about the rights of a huge percentage. What is it, like 58%? Right. Of their players. Like, that is a clear statement.
I don't think that that's a crazy thing to ask at all. My question is just, what does that what does that really do? Like, not in terms of like the numbers, but what does that really do?
To not watch football?
Right, because let's say
no one gets paid because the ratings are the beginning of all of that.
Right, so let's say everybody stops watching football. Colin does get his job back. He just ends up being one of those people that does not get paid.
But the idea is we watch it if he gets his job. We don't watch it if he doesn't get a job.
So you're saying that like in one fell swoop, everybody will like jump on and jump off.
Right. So, and then it's hard.
But then I feel like then we're not really addressing the actual problem.
Issue. No,
right.
for sure, which is more than him just getting employed.
Right.
I'm just saying in terms of the first step, like in the way, because there's the wars and then there's many battles within the war. If the battle is that Colin doesn't get a job at the end of this, then what are we going to make as a big power move for the bigger war? Are we going to keep watching this stuff? Is Beyonce going to get invited and is she going to perform?
Right.
And let's say she takes that yes and she performs, people will get mad. But if she performs, will she get political, as Juan said? Because then that makes up for her taking the job in essence, because she's like, okay, I'm going to use the platform because woke people might not watch it, but then there's a lot of unwoke people, and they're the ones who need the lesson. So I still need to say yes so they can see me in a Black Panther's outfit. They can see whatever artist it is, you know what I mean, in that sort of thing, and saying like, yeah, we're still disrupting what you're hiding behind in these circles, in the sports circles. So for sure, it's a really complicated issue, and it really tears me apart because I think sports is one of those nice things that unifies people despite, race, class, gender. Like, sports is for sports. You root for the team you root for, but they are bugging out right now. So fuck that.
Yeah.
Topic. Wait, I have a tuta loca.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the tuta loca. Okay.
Yeah, super quick. Did you guys hear about what Princess Nokia did recently?
Oh,
she
with
threw
the
soup on the racist guy.
Yo.
What's funny is because I saw the video and, I saw the headline or whatever, and it was before she came out saying that she was the person in the video.
Right.
And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, this is a case where, New Yorkers are actually, like, not sitting around and ignoring crazy shit that's going on, but like actually standing up for people and stuff like that. So that's cool. But then it was like a fan commented, it was like, is that Princess Nokia throwing this to you? And she was like, yes.
Spotted. Princess Nokia on the Brooklyn bound L train.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so for the listeners that might not know, so basically there was this like racist passenger on the L train that was like calling like this like group of boys like niggers and shit like that, and she basically like stepped in and like slapped him, and then he started calling like her a nigger, and then like everybody like kind of like banded together and started like pushing him on the train, and like as an added addition, as her like last Pokemon move, she threw like some soup on him. So I think that's fucking great. I think it's crazy, but I think it's fucking great.
Yeah, I was all there for it. When I saw it was her, and like low key, I'm trying to book her for a benefit event for Puerto Rico that we're doing, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. But for sure, like I think that's a bold ass statement. And I said it last week too. Like I need people with platforms to just start doing shit and stop acting like the people who love them are not going to support them no matter what. Like she threw that soup. Some people might be like it was too much. I think it was just right. Thank you, Princess, for that. You, Princess. And like I will buy your albums. Keep pouring soup.
Like I don't know. Have you met her?
No, I've never met her.
I have not.
She's a huge Spanish Rosé fan. First off.
Yes.
I met her before she was Princess Nokia when she was Wavy Spice.
That's right. And I actually saw her perform. I never met her, but I saw her perform at Azalea's Mermaid Ball a few years back.
Yeah. She was there too.
Yep.
She is like kind of like the realest of the real at the moment. I don't know. You can have your opinions on her talent wise, but I feel like she keeps it
real, very
100% in everything that she does, and I'm here for it.
Bruckner speaks about her a lot because they went to the same school together.
Nice.
I just I would love to have like her, Nitty Scott, and Azealia Banks like in the same room because I feel like I don't know. I just feel like magic can happen.
I agree. Yeah, no, that's totally dope. So our first topic. Now we're gonna get a little more serious, but schools and guns, right? So this is an ongoing American conversation, but. Recently, that young man who killed his fellow student who stabbed him to death, he was being bullied. And that was a big incident. And then in that same week, I read an article saying that there was a threat at LaGuardia High School, which is where me and Juan went to for high school. So that was a little scary, especially because we used to make not jokes or jokes. We were assholes. We were kids. We were assholes. We make jokes about like which student was the most likely to be the one to shoot the school down.
I always pick that white boy.
Yeah, for us, it was there was this kid who his watch was synced to the bell down to the T, so he would count down. Like if you had a class with him, you know to look at him because he'd start like packing up, and you're like, oh, he's packing up, and then he'd count down. He would mouth it, and he'd be like 3, 2, 1, and then he'd point up and the bell would go. Like, you know what I mean? I can't remember his name. He was like even on the baseball team. I can't remember his name, but like that motherfucker was one of those candidates. So we were like, yep, I'm gonna be nice to him because I don't want his ass shoot. He'd count it down like 3, 2, 1 and unleash these bullets. Like we were terrified.
Yeah.
But it was a really, like, first of all, we think about like schools and how they set them up. And we don't want our kids to feel like they're walking into a prison every time they're walking into school because there are certain schools, especially like in the Bronx.
Oh my God.
Y'all got like
I can speak to personally on Wildlife Conservation School because I subbed there.
Right. Metal detectors and shit. You feel like you're going through airport security.
No, actually not.
Not at that school.
Not at that school.
But there are schools.
There are schools
literal
like that.
like
perhaps had they had airport security at the school, he wouldn't have gotten in with a knife.
Yeah.
But
is that what we want for our kids? Also the like.
But the thing about it is that it's one of those schools where the administration is not strong. The teachers are scared of the students. You know, a lot of them are of the whiter array of teachers that are teaching in a poor district to get those loans forgiven. And so like I know like when I heard it happen, first off, let me preface it with like my school, which is in the same district, had an early dismissal, and so we were all like, why are we having a rapid dismissal? Why are we having a rapid dismissal? Oh, somebody got stabbed, somebody died in the same district, and it was like, oh, okay, and then come to find out it was this kid who stabbed his bully. The bullying had been going on for weeks. So mind you, this happened 3 weeks into the school year. So it had been going on for 2 weeks already. So that means the entire school year he had been being bullied.
Right.
Who knows if this had been happening in the summer, if this had been happening the year before. But for 2 weeks, this child was bullied. And the school did nothing. And now somebody's dead because of it. So you can take it and be like, oh, well, bullying doesn't justify homicide. But you can also take it as, all right, do we prefer our LGBT students to kill themselves because they're being bullied or fight back?
Right.
What are we doing? You know, what did the school do? Where was the teacher? You don't hear anything about the teacher in that classroom. And that's where I was like, I was really thinking about this a lot. Ladies who run shit listeners, I'm a teacher. Anything can happen in 30 seconds. You know, was the teacher stepping out? Were they talking to a student? Because that school is the type of school where it's one of those schools where you're lucky if you keep everybody in the classroom safe.
Right.
You know? Were they outside? Did they step outside? Were they late for class? Like, what? There were teachers who were late for class all the time in LaGuardia, but we weren't stabbing people. But, like... No.
But we could have. And honestly, I think I think that part of it, part of the bigger conversation, obviously, when you talk about the growth and development of children, you also talk about the different agents of socialization which influence their world, whether it's the immediate home, whether it's the school sphere, the community, media, government, these bigger circles. It's hard to decide, like, how do you balance the way in which these different outlets are unequal in what they teach. So I can be in a really good home, right? And they always say the home is the most important part, right? Which is true. But if the home is not stable, then what things are in place, as Juan was saying, like what things are in place on the teacher level to protect this? But if it's not a teacher level thing, then how is, policy or the community as a whole encouraging this? Because, for example, when I worked with young kids, so I was never like a certified teacher, but I did tons of workshops with young teens and designed them and yada yada. but it's that layer of like, I can try to teach LGBTQ tolerance to my students, and I would all the time. I'd always draw the genderbread man, genderbread person, for my students, and like, so disassociate, what you identify as versus what you express yourself as, clothing wise, and what you're assigned at birth as. And I'd get into these conversations, and then I'd have students who are either super religious and like, we're always like, yeah, but that's not what the Bible says, or like, I could teach them that, and they look at me and they're like, yeah, but I can't say shit like that in my house because my mom will like slap me, it will pop me in the mouth, and I'm like advocating for these groups. And so there's a constant struggle between like who's accepting to who and what's going on. So oftentimes for LGBTQ students, it's not just, oh, I'm being bullied in school. It could be happening in school, and then maybe their mom knows they're out and their mom is okay with it, but maybe their dad's not. Or maybe every time they have a family function, like maybe their parents accept them, but everybody else doesn't. So they're outcast by their cousins, or if in school, like if it's both, and then they see on the media something like the Orlando shootings happening, or they see fucking Trump speaking at a anti-LGBTQ rally, you know what I mean, and then their president, like all these layers that you have to think of when a young person is viewing themselves in this world, and they're already naturally insecure. Even if you are the straightest, cis, most white kid in the United States, there's something that challenges you in your space as a teenager. So it's so hard. It actually breaks my heart. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know, because we can say we can train our teachers better as social workers, or we can get more money in place so there can be social workers in school. But like where are the lack of resources? And is it one specific lack of resource that we can blanket everywhere? Or are we going to take the time to target each specific school to give the resources? And there's so much work that goes into it that it seems like no one is really willing to do. Everyone takes their job description at heart, and a teacher can say, I'm here to teach this subject.
No more, no less.
No more, no less. Because otherwise then they start sacrificing their emotions, and then they're getting into like a different realm of something they don't understand. If I'm coming from fucking Midwest and I end up in a school in the South Bronx, and I really just wanted to teach the kids who are passionate about math, and you're talking about bullying, and then you talk about layers of masculinity within communities of color, like you start getting into some specific shit that I'm just here for the math. Like and can you blame those teachers? And
right.
like, or are we just living in times that no matter what industry you're in, schools, government, like media, that we have to all unconsciously agree that we want to make a better world, and thus we will be conscious in our decisions and not selfish in our decisions on how we want to engage these. So I don't want to selfishly say, I'm just a math teacher and my job is just to make sure their scores are there, and not worry about what's happening in their home life, or if that student is continuously bullying them on Facebook. Like if it happens in front of me in the class, I can send him to the principal's office, but if it's happening on Facebook, that's not my business anymore. That's not my territory. But like, we need to make a conscious decision now, like as people in every industry that we're in, like how much work are we willing to put in to go above and beyond to prevent these things?
I feel like it's I personally feel like it comes down to, this is not like the ultimate solution, but I feel like to start out, it comes down to two things. I feel like it comes down to communication and redirecting. And I say that because a lot of the times some people don't know how to have those conversations, and they're like looking for the answer on like how to start them or like how to begin them and things like that. And it's like, you just have to start the conversation, like, for example, like I was like doing this thing over the summer, like with these kids, and one of the kids was like going around like calling this other boy a faggot. Like he kept calling him like a faggot. And I feel like there's this thing where like educators choose to like ignore some shit, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like at the end of the day, like we practically like hear everything. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it's important to like make that presence known and like let the kids know that like I can hear everything, I see everything, you know what I mean? Like put that kind of like awareness / like fear in them. And what I did immediately was I immediately like pulled that boy to the side. And it wasn't about like scolding him, but like I chose to have a conversation with him. I just like to do this sometimes, like when I'm bored with the kids, like I'll just like pretend like interview them. So I decided to do that. I was like, hey, like, do you know what you're actually saying? Like, do you know what that word means? And he said no. But I could tell that he picked it up from his household because I could just, from like watching his like mom like drop him off a little bit, like I could automatically like examine what could like go down in that house. So I was like, all right, this is probably just a word that he picked up in the house. He doesn't really know what it means, right? So first I got down to the bottom of that. Was it my place to teach him? No, but he's out here saying it, so might as well, you know, like educate him, you know? Right. So I equivalated it to, I was like, I asked him, oh, do you know what the N-word is? And he said yes. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of a word that's as offensive as the N-word for people that like people of the same like gender, you know? So like that's how I like basically broke it down to him. And then he started to like get it. And then he was like, oh, he's like, well, no, like that's not, I didn't want to like be like that mean and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, well, what's the lesson that we learned? And then he was like, well, I'm not going to say that anymore. And I was like, cool. I was like, spend 20 minutes, chill out by yourself. And I feel like, you know, we got that accomplished. And he, for the rest of the summer, wasn't saying that. You know what I mean? So I feel like it just all begins with like conversation and like dissecting. Like, do people really know what they're doing at the end of the day and all this other shit? And then if you don't know how to do that, the second thing I said, redirecting. Every school has a guidance counselor, point, period, blank. And if your guidance counselor does not know how to initiate that conversation, then that's a whole nother fucking conversation. Like, you need to be hiring somebody else who's equipped to, like, be able to start that conversation. So it's all about, one, acknowledging the problem, realizing that it exists, realizing that it's going on, and if you cannot directly address and communicate it, redirect to somebody who can. So...
Absolutely. It's so heartbreaking. I think about that kid and in the Bronx, and I think about the fact that
on both ends, like there's a kid that's never gonna see the light of day again.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's put this into perspective. Kid who was being bullied was 18, and I think it was 10th grade, and the kids who were doing the bullying were 16.
Wow.
So. Granted, there are multiple factors that go into that, which, like, was he left behind, or was he like this or that, whatever. But, like, the kid stabbed the kid that died, turned around, stabbed the other one who tried to stop him, and then walked to the guidance counselor, handed her the knife, or handed them the knife, and then waited in the main office for them to call the police.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, I feel like in my head, like, and I think back on like times when I was bullied, and if I were brought to that extent, that would be like my finest hour, where I'm like, you know what, I finally fucked with you, and maybe you're dead, but like
quite possibly you
might be dead, but like think of like mentally in that state where you have been bullied to the point where you just don't give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't try to leave. He didn't try to run.
Right.
He waited in the main office for them to call the cops.
Yeah, it's just, bullying is not what it used to be. Like,
oh no, it's
I say it as though that's something to be nostalgic about, but like, there was someone who I considered like my bully a little bit, who I like emailed today to like partner on an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like where I had the resources, where I had the people around me. For every time that she was saying things or getting people to heckle on me in a way that made me feel small, I had educators around me, whether they were New York Board of Ed teachers or like people who worked in nonprofits, like in my other ear trying to remind me that that's not true. Like what is happening is not true. And are we, especially for our LGBTQ kids, do we have enough of those resources in place? Because even as a person who worked in after-school programs, there would be certain staff who, let's say, a black male, where I'd be like, oh, he's so good for our black boys, to like show them and be an example, blah, blah, blah. That's the same gentleman who, if a kid who was a boy did something that was a bit feminine, would like giggle at the AEOs and stuff, and then tell that kid like, all right, chill out, rather than empowering that kid and telling the other kids not to make fun of him because of his own like social, insecurities with social conditionings around gay men, so it's so hard. And there's so many layers, but I just want to say, my condolences to the families of the both kids, both kids, because honestly, really, no violence is good. No violence is justified. I think that it's a very important moment for the community to really think about how we all play a role. And it wasn't just a school-related incident. This kid must have been walking in a world where even just a kid younger than him, bullying him was enough to pull him to that point. Seriously? That means it was more than that kid. It was other context in his world that really drove him to that. And also, not to dive into it, but mental health and community of colors, it's an issue, and it's something that we don't tackle enough. So again, my condolences. I hope that we can learn from this as whatever community we're from, and maybe we don't have to see more of it.
Word.
Topic 2, Trump the dump. Trump this week was talking about how we're not going to be in Puerto Rico much longer because we can't support them forever, as though they came to us for help because they are their own fucking country, and they're like, no, they are our responsibility, which is why we owe them to be there for them.
I'm just so over this man. I'm like, I have never wished violence on anyone more than this man.
Let me tell you, I never wanted to snatch a wig off a motherfucker's head more than I did when I saw him launching those toilet paper, the paper towels into the audience. Pero then these people, the people who I saw celebrating and like taking photos at the same time, I wanted to choke them a little harder than I wanted to choke him because it didn't make
They were planted. I swear to God, they were planted.
You know what? I don't even argue that. I think that that's absolutely possible. But the same way there are politicians on the island, there was this one lady. I didn't open the article because I just saw that it was her tagline was Trump has given us all the aid we've asked for. Like, almost like, get off his back. He's doing everything that we need him to do. And I'm like, bitch, excuse me, this is going to sound terrible. Whose dick are you sucking right now? Like, I honestly, I don't understand what's going on. Like, what are you writing so hard that you think that you need to step up and defend Trump in any sort of way? As a Boricua, which shows that people's politics this day and age go before their pride and their colonialism or whatever, nationalism, not colonialism. Colonialism is what America does. But with their their national pride, like, fuck you, he's been helping. He's also talking about pulling out early and pulling resources like FEMA. And you guys only have like 10% of the island with power right now. You have people dying because their medication can't be held cold in a fridge. And they, you know what I mean? Like, you have so much going on. Fuck you, he's doing enough. He's not doing enough. When Harvey happened, this is not to say that the attention that Harvey got wasn't deserved. It was absolutely deserved. But Puerto Rico also deserves that level of attention and that level of, we're never going to leave your side and blah, blah, blah. This is the same motherfucker who met himself on another island. Like, are you seriously defending this man? Yo. Honestly, truly, I can't fathom it. And he said that, and it really pissed me off, which leads me to say, like, Skittles and I are organizing an event for November 2nd at WeWork Harlem. And it's an event, it's a relief night for Puerto Rico. So we're going to be collecting non-perishables and cans and good. And actually, New York Dose will be there. Right. New York Dose will be there. Skittles Music TV, El Ladies Who Bronche, we're all sort of doing this together.
If you've ever wanted to see Cesa La Princesa live in action, come
This
through.
Is the time, right? So we're setting up a couple of avenues. So like we all have like a 5-can minimum for entry, which is literally like $5 or less if you're buying cans that are like 60 cents each, whatever. But we have that minimum entry, so we'll be collecting cans, but also we'll have vendors and opportunities for vendors to be there and sell their product.
A fucking piragua cart.
Right. We have this awesome piragua cart that's
I've been
coming.
using that to like
incentivize. No, because that was so important to me. Like, I was like, what are Puerto Rican staples? And like, mind you, piraguas, Dominicans call them junjums, right? So like, it's a Latin thing, but like, I was like, yeah, we're having an event, and like, we need to have some sort of piraguas and boozy piraguas too, which is something we're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, so what it is you hop on a bike and you like bike a little bit, and that shaves the ice that you're gonna then have for your drink. And that company, every time they do an event, they donate part of their proceeds to a cause. This year, their cause is bringing clean water to countries where it's difficult to have access to clean water. So every time you hire them, you're in essence donating to that cause, which is really awesome. But anyway, we're putting together this event, and we really want folks to come out. We want everyone. We're doing it in Harlem. There's many WeWork locations that we could do it in that are big and bougie, but like, we are specifically doing it in Harlem because it's right near Spanish Harlem, and we want this to really be an opportunity for the community and not just like the businesses that are within the space, to really step up and do something. And we're going to be celebrating Puerto Rican culture and the food, the drink, like all this stuff. It's going to be great. And I say that to say Puerto Rico, you know, Ladies Who Bronche, we're small, but we're here for you. And we will be doing everything in our power to support you, as will New York Dose. Hey. So we're here. Even if Trump wants to pull out like a little pussy, pull out before we come. You want to pull out before we come. Fuck you.
And he ain't even eat it out.
Like, and he ain't even eat this pussy. He just want to grab it, bitch. I need a little arm.
With his little stubby fingers.
Exactly. Fuck out of here. Fucking orange ass. Wig wearing ass.
And my clit orange now. Exactly. Like, fuck out of here.
Musty ass balls. Anyway.
His little pee-pee.
I did also want to highlight the fact that he spoke at that, I mentioned earlier, an anti-LGBTQ event. He said some really terrifying words. Where I literally
back Merry Christmas.
Well, yeah, which that was one thing. He was
one of them.
We're gonna be able to say Christmas again. Like, we want to be able to say Merry Christmas again. They've taken away that right. Suck my dick. And he also said that, you know, anti-LGBTQ voices will no longer be silenced. That, you know, there's no reason to silence their voices anymore. Yada yada yada. This motherfucker is
B613, pull up.
Like
B613, pull up, Shonda.
I was like, first of all, I want to hear every Trump supporter that was part of the LGBTQ community who was like, oh, but he's making promises to us. He literally said to them, he's like, oh, I'm going to keep my campaign promise to you, anti-LGBTQ folk, that you will no longer be silenced. Like, it's such a complicated thing, because if you want to be super technical, you're like, oh yeah, he's like making sure that freedom of speech is the same across the lines. But bullshit, he is, because he's also trying to silence the media, and the media that sort of represents the voices of folks who don't agree with him. So he's not, you know, and it's so hard to have so many idiots in the country. It is. Because, like, when you're trying to make that point where you're like, you know, he told the LGBTQ community that he was behind him, and he also just said that he was going to support the people who don't think they deserve rights. So, like, which side is he? And, like, who, like, that's...
Whose man's is this?
Somebody come and get him. Like, I said this online the other day, and I mean it. I really hope that, like, one of his Secret Service or, like, one of his assistants or whatever just, like, trips him every once in a while. Or, like, you know, when the hairdresser is, like, making sure the toupee is on right, like, yanks it really hard.
I feel like if anybody's going to be a bitch to him, it would have been Omarosa while she was up in there. But, you know.
That bitch was not going to... I don't even know what she was doing there in the first place. Yeah. I was disappointed. I was never an Omarosa fan, but, like, I was real disappointed. I was like, I know what you're doing out here. I know what you're trying to do. I see it. Yeah. I see it. But, like, is now the time? Like, you couldn't do it some other way. Like, you couldn't just be heavy on the campaign trail. Like, on some shit. Like, you would have gotten the same amount of attention. Because, honestly, nobody's looking for that bitch right now. And she got her position. Nobody cares. Nobody's looking for you, mama. No. So what did you really accomplish? You just betrayed your people. You made them, you know, have to bend over and let him fuck them up the ass. How do you feel? Do you feel responsible? Do you? Like, you know, it's honestly... Anyway, but speaking to that same community of the LGBTQ community, today I wanted to chat a little bit about inclusivity in the gay community and how certain folks are outcast. And I really want to pass this on to you, Derick and Skittles, like, to own this conversation. I think a lot, like, as a woman, we talk a lot about, like, how the standards that we have to keep up with. And last week when we were talking about the inequality in eating out and, like, how, you know, when you're in a more feminine position, you sort of have to default to the, you know, male representative's desires. But I think it goes past that. So the same issues that we have as women, where we feel like maybe weight is an issue, or like a lot of little things, still happens within the gay community. It's not my community. It's not my experience to speak on. So I just wanted to hear from the two of you guys, you know, what are some of the standards that people want and what's unrealistic and unfair about it?
I'll start off. I think that a lot of the stuff that you see in mainstream media translates to the gay community 100%. Yeah. So we like to walk around talking about, oh, one love and love wins and such and such and such. But love wins only when you're not fat and when you have a perfect body. Yep. And no Asians, no femmes, no fatties, no black, you know, no Latino, or no whites, or, like, you know, we have a tendency to kind of, like, create all these different, you know,
sectors.
Sectors within the gay community, dividing us, even though we're constantly fighting for unity and equality and stuff like that. And I think it's like really tiring. I think that's why I'm always trying to have like Skittles be the every type of stereotype out there, because I'm not the quintessential gay guy, you know, where I have a nice body and, you know, I'm also pretty and good at makeup and stuff like that. You know, like, you look at people who are in the forefront of our LGBT audiences, and they're all like these Ken dolls, you know? And, you know, if you're a little bit femme, you know, you have these bottoms, like, all of a sudden muscling up and becoming, like, super, like, jacked, like, grizzly men-looking guys. And then you have, like, everybody, like, hating on the femboys. And, like, I don't know. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. The gay community is very much... I feel like social media, social platforms have made us very, how do I say, like, we're like shoppers. Like, they've transformed us into like shoppers. And when I say that, I mean, so for example, like when it comes down to like our dating apps, right? Our dating apps, from what I understand, the hetero dating apps, like, you guys aren't so... based on like location, whereas like in our dating apps, it's
you
very
know how far you are.
It's very,
you know, your weight,
exactly.
your height, your age. What community do you look for?
Yep.
Do you want a bear? Do you want a twink?
Yep.
Do you want a femme? Do you want a trans girl? Do you want
within the first three sentences of a conversation on, you know, like the hetero sites, you know, you'll probably get across like what each other's name is at the most, you know. Within the first three sentences on our sites, you'll know what position the other person's playing, like top or bottom. You'll know if you're that person's preference. You'll know where that person works. Like, where it's a lot more just like, here's what it is, here's what we want, when can we get it? You know what I mean? And I feel like media has played a huge role in that, as Juan has said before, because like everybody's looking for these images that are portrayed, you know, like on the screen or like in the magazines. And it's like, if you're not that chiseled, such and such, you know, like you're gonna have a much harder time. Which then transforms into the whole thing about like catfishing. Like, I feel like catfishing is a lot more present in me and Juan's world than it is in the hetero world, because in our world you have a lot of these DL niggas using other people's pictures until, you know, they send you their real picture privately. You know,
they do that shit. They'll have somebody else's picture, and then when they finally realize that you're you and who you are, they'll send them, and they'll be like, "This is really me."
Somebody hit me up the other day and was like, "I think somebody's using your photo." I was like, "What?" And then he screenshotted me the conversation. It was this DL nigga that was using my fucking picture.
No way.
I was like,
That's crazy.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That's crazy. And that's another thing about like these DL dudes. Like, we also have that factor. Like, you don't have, I mean, I guess you do have gay men trying to fake a straight, but like, you don't have gay guys trying to have sex with straight people.
Yeah.
It's not as, no, yeah, you're
I don't
right.
know, like,
it's not as big of an issue. Like, I don't feel like every other guy I've ever tried to talk to, it's like, oh, he might be gay. Like, that's not something that I'm thinking about.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I don't have to worry about, like, DL.
I've grown, like,
men.
I'm on that grind. I do have a Grindr profile. And, like, I've grown to the idea where, like, I put my, like, uglier picture as a profile picture so that
it's like, you know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting. And so that it's like one of those things, because then if I put a picture of me with makeup on, then I get a lot of DL dudes who are like, oh, are you going to wear makeup when I come to you? do you wear panties? Do you do this? Do you that? Do you act like a girl? Can I call you a girl's name? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, calm down.
Right.
All I did was spend $34 on my Fenty palette and I wanted to show it off. Like, fuck out of here.
Right.
You know? And then if I have like a mask looking picture where like I'm looking more like a dude, then it's like, oh, I didn't know you were femme. I didn't know you acted like a girl. I'm not into it. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like,
it's a weird realm.
A weird realm. Definitely a weird realm.
And also, it's just a lot. It also boils down to like expression too, right? So like something that like Juan will always tease me for is he'll be like,
he cheated.
Yeah, he'll tell me and explain that. He'll be like,
okay, so I say Derick cheated because I never got the chance to think that I was straight.
Huh.
I never got the chance to try and act straight. I never got the chance to do that because I was already labeled gay from kindergarten. I was being called a faggot in kindergarten.
Jesus.
You know? Whereas Derick was straight until college.
Yeah.
And then came back one winter break and ta-la-la, unicorns and glitter.
Ta-la fucking la.
So I always joke around saying that Derick cheated because he has like and I say this mostly because he has a certain relationship with guys that I will never have, and I have never had.
Can you say a little bit more on that?
I don't have like straight guy friends that are like just straight guy friends, without the fear of me hitting on them.
Right.
And I can honestly 100% say like even the straight guys that I socialize now might have that fear of like, yo, like that was too much from me.
Whereas I normally I can slide in with like the broship, you know, like they'll hit me, like they'll end up being the sus one out of like our friendship. Like they'll call me over like at booty hours to play fucking video games and this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what that does for me, it like that plays on me like psychologically also, because it's kind of like then I'm playing this like double game of like, do you fucking know what you're doing right now? Like, do you expect me to be the one? Because you know what I mean? So, which is why I've just come to this place where it's like, I never make the first move, like, at all in any of my little, like, straight man endeavors, which is a lot. I never...
Tune into the New York Dose for more of that from Derick.
Yeah, my saga with straight men. But, yeah, so I have conditioned myself to just never make the first move, which is also like kind of crippling, you know, like in my sex life, because I don't ever want to put on that fear, or like I just don't want to be the one that they come to at the end of the day and it's kind of like, oh, like you did this, like you made us do this, you made this. No, you're never gonna catch me in that situation, because I'm gonna be like, no, nigga, it was you that made the first move, you did this, da-da-da, you know?
Keep those receipts
always. So it's like neither, like each world comes with like its own like repercussions, you know? Yeah, I forgot what your initial question was.
We were just talking about the
inclusivity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think but like, I think that's like such a funny thing that I always make fun of you for like cheating your way in. Like,
yeah,
it's just such an interesting dynamic. Like literally you can see the difference in how guys interact with you
us,
and how they interact with me. Because the way they interact with me, it's like as if they're interacting with a girl, but not as compassionate. Like, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
No, I know. It's like just approaching the line.
Yeah.
But making sure not to accidentally cross it. Whereas with me, it's like, because it's like that bro thing, it's like, yeah, like, like I'll slap your ass. You know what I mean? Because, you know, it's a very weird... it's very weird. It's a very weird world. But yeah, when it comes to inclusiveness, no, I feel like, and this is why, and another thing is so funny, Juan will always try, like, I don't do the gay scene, like, at all. Like, at all. Like, Juan has been trying to get me to go out to clubs for years. And I always shoot, like, I'm very strong and stubborn, and no, you know, like, no, I'm not going. And because I just feel like it's just such a, like, when I go out, I want to just go out with friends, you know, and I just want to go out with friends, and I just want to dance with my friends, you know. And it's like the times that I was trying to do the gay scene, like in college, it was it was like a fucking, I never had a good experience. Yeah, it was like it's shopping. Like, we as gay men are always constantly shopping, and it's like when I go out with friends, I don't want to shop and I don't want to be shopped, you know, like I don't want to have the fear of like being hit on, you know what I mean? Which is why I also empathize with women a lot that like go to, you know, your hetero clubs and you don't want to be hit on by men. Sometimes you want to just fucking dance with your female friends, you know what I mean? That's the same way I am. Like when I go out with my friends, I just want to go out with my friends. I don't have to worry, I don't want to worry about, oh, which one of us is going to get picked off by the guy, or you know what I mean? Like I don't have the headspace for that. I just want to fucking dance. So I just choose to not do it at all.
That's right. We just want to fucking dance out here, guys. Yeah. Thank you both for your perspective on that. And I think it's definitely an ongoing conversation.
Oh, yeah.
There's more points and aspects to hit on that topic. But for sure, I think
so if you're ever wondering why I have my titties out in slumber party, no, that is because I'm a big fat bitch who likes to beat her face.
Come through.
Right. Fuck yeah, come absolutely. Well, thank you all for tuning in.
We're at the end?
Yeah, we're at the end of it all. Any quick shout out, any upcoming things that we want to say? Derick, where can we find you?
You can personally find me at DJSJ614 on Instagram and Twitter. You can find me at Hollywood614 on Snapchat. My Snapchat is lit. Check it out. You can also find me at The New York Dose. Follow The New York Dose on iTunes and SoundCloud and shit. It's type lit.
Also, my song is their theme song.
I was going to say, Skittles' song is their theme song.
Yes, it's what's so fucking lit.
What's good, everybody? What's good?
I think I'm going to do that live.
What's good?
I think I'm going to do that live at Oye Mi Canto, which is on November 2nd, and we work Harlem.
So we need Derick to be dancing in the background?
I think should be dancing. But yeah, so once you go listen to the podcast and you hear that, then go back to Juan's YouTube and check out our video.
Yes.
And then after you leave Juan's YouTube, go to my YouTube, because we just did another video together.
Yes, we did with Pilala.
Pilala poppin'. She's back. So yeah, that's a lot of shit. But that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We'll have more bochinche for you next week. Until then, bronche.